channel and welcome back to my series of videos on how to pass an advanced driving test. And in this video we're going to look at cornering. Now I have looked at cornering in quite a lot of detail in a number of other videos, and I'll put all the links in the description below. Those videos break down into much more detail things like limit point assessment, like keeping the car balanced through a corner with the throttle. And there's some other videos there linking all that stuff together and showing you how we put all that stuff together. But in this video I'm very specifically looking at the cornering skills that are required to allow you to pass an advanced driving test. So let's start by asking, what is a corner? Well, a corner is a hazard. It's one of a million different types of hazard that we deal with on the roads. But of course, if you've seen the video previously on the system of car control, you know that on the approach to any hazard we apply the system of car control. If you haven't seen that video, go and watch it first. The link's in the description below. If you've seen it, you'll know there are 5 phases to the system of car control: information, position, speed, gear and acceleration. So let me look at specifically at each of those 5 phases, and then let's have a look at how we apply them on the road when we're going through a series of corners. So the first phase is information, and information runs throughout the system. So we're constantly taking, using and giving information all the way on the approach to a corner and all the way through the corner. So what information is available to you on approach to a corner? Well, to start with, there may be some warning signs. So you may see a bend to the left or a bend to the right. You may see chevron boards just beyond the corner indicating there's a sharp deviation. You may see something just as straightforward as a change from centre lines like we've got here to hazard lines. And there's the change to hazard lines. And that's just drawing your attention to the fact there's a bit of a corner coming up and you need to be aware of it. You may also get slow on the road, you know, advisory speed limits, all sorts of warnings that there is a corner coming up. But what else? Well, obviously there's your view of the corner itself. Like I said before, I've put a link in the description below for the video about limit points. And limit points is one of the ways that we can assess the tightness of a corner. It's the furthest point we've got an uninterrupted view of the road surface. It's a really important piece of information to us as a driver. Now here, coming off this bend, we've got a lovely view into the distance and the limit point isn't relevant, but the next visible limit point is just up at the top of the hill, just where the road goes out of view behind the trees. So if I use that as a reference point, at the moment it's getting closer. So I'm ready to slow down on approach to that corner, but now it's starting to move. And that's given me an indication that the corner is not getting any tighter, that it's opening up and we can stay on the gas through the corner. So the limit point's another source of information. Other bits of information I'm looking for, well, I can see the barrier here going round to the right. Sometimes I can see the corner itself. Sometimes I can see other vehicles going away from me or coming towards me. You can see the wall line, the hedge line, all kinds of different clues about the corner and how tight it is. But there's other bits of information I'm looking for as well. The road surface. What's the road surface like? Here, this road's a little bit washboard. It's a little bit uneven, but it's reasonably good. There's no massive potholes or anything. There's nothing else I'm going to have to adjust my position for through the corner. I'm using that information that I'm taking in to formulate a plan as to how I'm going to go through the corner, and using that information to help me decide position on approach, speed, gear, and the point at which I'm going to apply the acceleration. And what about giving information? Well, if I've got following traffic, if I need to slow for a corner, braking, we'll apply the brake lights. That'll give information to following traffic, not generally signalling for corners. But certainly using brake lights allows people behind to see that I'm slowing for corners. Next phase of the system is position. As a rule of thumb, on approach to a right-hander like this, I'm going to position near side. And that's because moving to the left gives me a better view around the corner. And vice versa, for a left-hander like this, I'm going to position offside and just up to the white centre line here. So for this right-hander, near side position gives me a better view around the corner. And for this left-hander, offside towards the centre line, towards the right, gives me a better view. Now I said that's a rule of thumb, not always a rule. It's a rule of thumb because if I'm going around this left-hander now and keeping a centre line position, there may be a heavy goods vehicle coming towards me, there may be a motorcycle coming towards me, just over the white centre line. And I'm going to do a video on positioning soon, but the most important thing about positioning is we are able to compromise our position. We'll always put safety above everything else. So the rule of thumb is, on approach to a left-hander, we're going to position up towards the centre line. But if there's a safety reason not to do it, we're compromising our safety by doing that, then I'm not. I'm going to move away from the centre line. I'm going to prioritise view over safety. Here, however, I'm going to position towards the centre line to give us a better view around the left-hander. So after position, the next phase is speed. And I mentioned at the information phase that we're going to be taking in information about the limit point and other indicators that are going to tell us how tight the corner is. So the biggest question I need to be asking myself when I'm deciding the speed for a corner is, can I stop in the distance I can see to be clear? We're not asking ourselves how fast we can go into a corner, we're asking ourselves, can I stop? And I mean, can we stop, you know, urgently, in an emergency, if there's something just out of view, just beyond the limit point of the corner. A cyclist, somebody on horseback, a car that's broken down, somebody changing a spare wheel, whatever it is, if they're just out of view around the corner, we need to be able to stop. So the best way to judge your speed into a corner is look at the limit point and ask yourself, can I stop? There's a few other things to take into account. I mentioned road surface before. What are the road surface conditions like? Can we see other vehicles going through that corner? Are they giving us a clue for the speed for the corner? What's the camber of the road like? Is the camber going to help us out? Is it crown camber? Is it super elevated? Crown camber is where the road is raised in the centre near the white centre line to allow water to drain off. Super elevation is where the whole corner is banked. Crown camber can be a problem to us on right-handers because it makes the corner more difficult. Super elevation helps us in both directions, doesn't matter which way the road's going. And then we've got the gear phase. So, in very, very simple terms, all we're looking for from our choice of gear is flexibility. We're looking for a gear that will give us a good drive through the corner without running out of revs. So we don't want the car bogging down because the gear's too high. And we don't want to be bouncing off the rev limiter halfway through the corner. So I'm not going to be prescriptive about which gear to choose because each corner is unique and each car is different. But you're looking for a gear that puts you right in the sweet spot to give you some constant acceleration through the corner. Now the fifth phase is acceleration, and this is very important because the one thing any of the examiners are looking for, any of these advanced driving courses, is an ability to balance the car through the corner, and we do that using the accelerator. Again, I've put a link in the description below for my video about cornering balance. But really what it means is it's a recognition that the car needs to be under some amount of drive or some amount of acceleration all the way through the corner. It's very important this. The accelerator should be applied right at the very start of the corner. So in order to be able to do that, you need to apply system early on approach to the corner, so you get your position, speed and gear correct before you get to the corner. All you've got left to do then is turn the wheel and press the accelerator at the same time. It's really important this. Now don't want you thinking that that first squeeze of the accelerator has to be a big hard push. It doesn't. It's what I term a neutral throttle or a neutral accelerator. That's just enough acceleration to keep the speed of the car where it is. Remember, we've been through the speed phase, we've set the car speed, we've gone on to gear, and then we're on the acceleration phase. We don't need to lose any more speed. And if you just turn the steering wheel without doing anything else, the car will slow down. And that's because the friction with the front wheels and the road surface will cause the car to slow down. So that first press of the accelerator is just to counter the car's natural tendency to slow down. when you turn the steering wheel. It's not a big squeeze, it's just a gentle squeeze just to keep the car's speed where it is. Then it depends on what the limit point's doing. If the limit point is static, i.e. it's a constant distance away from you as you're going through the corner, well, you just need to maintain that neutral throttle. Just maintain enough throttle to keep the car's speed where it is. But at some point in that corner, the limit point will start to move away. And as it starts to move away, you can increase the pressure on the accelerator. And increasing the pressure on the accelerator gives you another advantage. What happens is the weight of the car starts to transfer rearwards to the rear axle. It doesn't matter whether your car's front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, four wheel drive, having a little bit of additional drive, a little bit of additional weight over that rear axle helps the car through the corner. And you'll feel it through the steering wheel. A little bit of positive acceleration through a corner does wonders for a car's steering feel. So think in terms of steering the front axle with the steering wheel and the rear axle with the accelerator. And if you've assessed the speed for the corner properly and you've applied the gas just at the right point, you should apply the gas gently at the start of the corner. You should never lift it off. Gently at first, and then increasing the pressure as the corner opens up. So let's give you a little demonstration of some cornering now, just through a few bends. I've got the car in manual, the M2 this week up in Scotland, but I've got the car in manual at the moment. So I'll use the gear stick, so I'm driving it as though it's a manual car, and I'm giving myself the sort of time that I need on approach to corners to get the system correct. So at the moment this road's quite a flowing road. Very little traffic up in this northern part of Scotland. And I'm going to apply the system of car control now on the approach to the corners that are coming up on this road. So let's start in the distance with that left-hander. So on approach, I'm looking for information, I'm looking for movement in the limit point. Position is towards the centre line. The limit point is moving now. I'm going down 2 gears for 4th gear just to give me some flexibility through the corner and accelerating gently through. Now for the right-hander, I'm positioning near side and now up towards the centre line for the left-hander. And then I'm looking at the next left-hander and I'm easing off in 4th gear. The limit point's starting to run, so I'm gently balancing the gas and then increasing the pressure on the gas pedal as we go through. I've got some pedestrians off this bend and an oncoming car, so I'm actually starting to slow down now. Just take our time as we pass them. And looking for the next bend, which is a left-hander, so my position's up to but not over the centre line. And then in towards the near side for the right-hander. Near side position for this right-hander, and then I'm on my exit from this corner. I'm going to position up to the centre line, do a little bit of brakes, off the brakes 3rd gear, and that just gives me a little bit better drive through the corner. Now the conditions today are wet, so I'm going to be generally a gear higher than I would be in dry conditions, just because I don't want maximum torque going to the rear axle. In this car, could spin the rear wheels up. Near side position here, gently driving through, out towards the centre line, looking at the limit point, driving through the corner. Now, coming up to the part now where I tell you the differences between each different organisation and what they're looking for from cornering. And it's really important to note that there is a really fundamental difference between what the IAM and ROSPA are looking for as civilian advanced driving tests and what the police are looking for, especially at advanced level. And that difference is in positioning. You'll notice so far that I've kept all my positioning within the left-hand side of the road. I've kept to the left-hand side of the white line. So the maximum position I've been taking for a left-hander has been there, up to the centre line, but not over it. If you're doing an IAM or a ROSPA test, that's what they're looking for. The IAM and ROSPA take the view that because this kind of driving is carried out within the confines of national speed limit, that they are not comfortable teaching civilians to move offside of the white centre line. Now they may be happy with you taking a little bit off a right-hander like that. There's no issue with that as long as you've got a clear view in It's safe, it's legal, there's an advantage to it, and we're not giving the wrong perception to other people behind us. I have done a video on offsiding. Please have a look at it. I'll put the link in the description below. So in order to get a pass, or a bronze, silver at ROSPA, a pass at IAM, you need to demonstrate good application of the system for car control, consistently good positioning on the approach to corners, and an ability to balance the car through the corner on the gas bed. For the police, however, especially at advanced level, not so much at standard level, but especially at advanced level, they will be looking for probably what you call much more extreme positioning. Now, because in the police you're going to be driving in excess of the speed limit, well in excess of the speed limit at times, because you have an exemption for training purposes, there is much more of an advantage to be had by going further offside. And when I say further offside, sometimes that may well be right up to the offside curb, right up to the other side of the road. Now let's be clear. I want to be really clear about this for anybody watching. This is not the wrong side of the road. There's no such thing as the wrong side of the road and the right side of the road. There's the near side and there's the offside. Now there may be times when white lines or other legal markings on the road or signage mean that you can't cross the centre line. Other than that, if it's a broken white line, if there's no white line at all, as we've got here temporarily, then providing it's safe and providing you get an advantage from it, then the police instructors will encourage you to use the full width of the road. There is one difference here. I'm getting really complicated now, and that's with Scottish Police Driving School. The Scottish Police Driving School, following a really horrible fatal accident a number of years ago, the Scottish Police Driving School introduced a policy whereby they insist that their students stay to the left of the white line unless they're overtaking. But for England and Wales, police driving schools, especially on advanced car courses and advanced bike courses as well, positioning is much more extreme. So, let me give you a demonstration of that. Put the car into manual. So, more of a demonstration of police positioning this. This is not civilian position. On the approach to this right-hander, I can't go any further near side than the best part of the near side, so that's appropriate. Then looking at this left-hander, I'm going to take a position probably halfway across the white centre line just to improve my view, back to the near side again. Now, I've got to make sure I'm not coming into conflict with anybody, so I'm tapering my approach back in. I'll move out early and then taper my approach to the corner. But you can see when I do that, I get a better view down the road. Here, I'm approaching this left-hander fully on the offside of the road. I can look all the way through the corner, there's nothing coming. That gives me a straighter line through the corner. Allows me to get on the gas earlier and also take a line that takes me out of the corner of the white line as well. So by doing that, we're significantly reducing the radius of the corner. Here I'm keeping a near side position all the way around. And then I'm moving up into a following position on these two vehicles, looking in the distance. There's a sort of white Luton van coming towards us here in the distance. So I'm not thinking about an overtake here, there isn't enough view. I'll just get into a following position. Again, I know I'm overtaking here, but this offside position gives me the perfect position to turn into that left-hander. And then looking through the bend, I could cut this one, but I've got the cyclist, so I'm going to keep a near side position here, balancing the car on the gas and looking into the distance. There I can straighten it a little bit. So this is what I mean about just getting the advantages of an offside position on approach to a left-hander. There, tapering the approach in, so that we're not frightening the oncoming driver to death when we come around the bend. The advantage in that offside position comes much earlier, it comes way on approach to the corner. The advantage is not at the corner itself. The advantage is way back. So we take an early position out and then taper our approach in rather than holding it. I don't want to hold that position on the way in. So again, just through these series of bends, but back in the other direction. Offside position on approach, but taper your approach into the corner. So for this right-hander, keeping it into the near side. No advantage going offside there, and it'll put us at significant risk. We haven't got the view through the corner, we're not going to go offside on the right-handers. If we have, however, like this one, go offside. And then keep the offside position just to get the view into the left-hander and then taper it back in again. So let's be clear, IAM and ROSPA do not want to see you go into the offside of that white line. Not on approach to left-handers anyway. For right-handers occasionally, if there's a clear view, yes. Police, yeah, at some stage in your standard car course they'll have you moving around a little bit. On your advanced car course, absolutely, they're going to want you to take fully offside positions. Where there is an advantage, the police, however, a little bit on your standard course, definitely on your advanced car course, will absolutely want you to use the full width of the road where it's appropriate and where it's safe and where you get an advantage. I suppose if we look at the subjective elements as well, any of the examiners in any of those organisations are also looking for an ability for the driver to make the car just flow along the road. So quite often that's just on and off the gas, holding a flexible gear, easing off the gas just to get the speed right for the corner, pressing the gas again just to keep the car balanced through the corner, and just flowing along the road. Again, I've made a video about flow, it's in the description below. If there's any room left for any more videos down there, have a look at that as well, and I describe what flow means. So that's it, cornering, and what's required to pass an advanced driving test. Any questions, bob them in the description below. I'll try and answer everything. Might not get straight back to you, but I'll do my best. Don't forget to go and have a look at the website, reglocal.com. There's loads more information there about advanced performance driving and riding. Information about the books that I've written. And information about how you can get a day's driver or rider coaching with me. If you fancy a ride out or a drive out, drop me an email and we'll sort something out. And also give us a follow on Twitter as well, @reglocal. But for now, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, hope you got something out of it. And we'll see you next time.